in the that didn't take long category, Mike McCarthy will be the 9th coach in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. A source confirming to ESPN the news was first reported by Fox Sports. McCarthy replaces Jason Garrett, who went 85-67 as a Cowboys coach over 9 seasons. McCarthy led the Packers to a Super Bowl win against the Steelers at AT&T Stadium, his new home for the Cowboys. So here's what the timeline looked like. The Cowboys spent 3 days holding meetings with Jason Garrett this week, but wrapped up their head coaching search after just 3 days of interviews and prior to, or almost in conjunction with, announcing Garrett's departure. They interviewed former head coaches Marvin Lewis and Mike McCarthy, ultimately settling on McCarthy. Ed Werder joins us from the Star. And Ed, why McCarthy so quickly?
Yeah, I am wordy, Wendy. One day after announcing Jason Garrett would not return as the head coach, the Cowboys have hired former Packers coach Mike McCarthy, a veteran coach who contributed to Garrett's demise by twice ending Dallas seasons in the playoffs, arguably with less talented teams. You know, the Cowboys were motivated to act decisively once they were impressed by McCarthy because he remained a potential candidate with 3 other teams he interviewed with, the Giants, the Browns, and the Panthers. Those teams forced to wait because they're pursuing Josh McDaniels, so the Cowboys maximized their leverage by being the first to commit to McCarthy. There's an overwhelming sense here in the Cowboys organization that they have a talented roster and that Jerry and Stephen Jones wanted to hire someone with NFL head coaching experience. When I asked the team source what the Cowboys needed their head coach to provide that was lacking under Garrett, the list included 3 critical items: fear, accountability, and discipline. McCarthy should provide some, if not all of that. Plus, he offers great legitimacy and credibility. And Wendy, people who have worked with McCarthy in the league believe he can function and win in a unique Cowboys organization where Jones maintains a very public role in the football aspect, uncommon among NFL owners. There's a real sense that McCarthy was limited in Green Bay because of Ted Thompson's unwillingness to participate in free agency.
Ed, what changes do you anticipate McCarthy will bring?
Well, I think one of the criticisms of Mike McCarthy, maybe the major one, would be that he had Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback and won just a single Super Bowl. So I reached out to Favre today about his impression of McCarthy with the Cowboys and Dak Prescott, and he described McCarthy as a perfect fit for Prescott and the entire team. Favre said that McCarthy's brash and tough, has tremendous confidence and believability. And you're right, McCarthy will probably require Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott and the rest to transition to his preferred West Coast offensive system. And speaking to some of the offensive coaches here, I'm told the Cowboys incorporated some of those concepts in their playbook this year, but the verbiage will be massively different and require a period of adjustment, especially for Prescott. But Wendy, the coaches here describe Prescott as an open-minded player and someone who's, quote, a great listener.
Ed, really interesting. Thank you, Mort. I'll ask you the same question that we did with Ed to start. Why Mike McCarthy?
Well, sometimes when Jerry Jones speaks and he makes himself so readily available to the public and media, we think it's hot air. Sometimes you got to listen. He told us 2 or 3 weeks ago that the data showed that college coaches, who we were all speculating about, not you guys, but the reporters, they don't have a good track record of success. So when we were talking about Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, or Matt Rule at Baylor, or Urban Meyer, who's not anywhere right now, or Dan Mullen at Florida, he was not part of the data. They were not part of the data. He wanted an NFL head coach, a lot of experience, a track record, and I think that surprised some people because it really did come down to Marvin Lewis and Mike McCarthy. And he didn't care about winning the press conference. Now, this is going to go over well, but if he had hired Marvin Lewis, which he would have been comfortable with, I think that he wouldn't have cared what the reaction was going to be. He just wanted to get the right coach. One problem here, or something that has to be solved here, is the staffing part of it. I mean, nobody's worried about the offensive side of it, but one thing that Jerry Jones and the organization was concerned about was the defense. So what's Mike McCarthy's defensive staff going to look like?
Well, it's interesting when you heard Ed say, as he reached out, what was missing? Discipline. Fear. Those are big words, and clearly, I will say, a coach with the track record of Mike McCarthy should have some of that. Ryan.
Well, I think he'll have discipline, but you have to implement it. It's not necessarily that guys are just going to follow you. You're going to need a structure that says, you know what, we are organizing this thing in a way that discipline is one of our top priorities as a team. And I think Mike McCarthy understands that. And also fear I think fear has to be taken with a little bit of lighthearted joking, because they're not going to fear Mike McCarthy, but you want them to respect him.
Sure.
And when you have the type of resume that Mike McCarthy has, when you have the type of experience that he has, and also when you look at what he's done while he's been out of coaching and making sure he can improve himself in his next opportunity, I think guys will respect that as well. And so I believe this is a good hire. I also like that Jerry Jones wasn't trying to win the press conference. I like that Jerry Jones went Zach Martin over Johnny Manziel when it came to him picking his coaches. This is a way to win. This is a way to understand that my roster is where I want it to be. I need a leader, I need a delegator, and someone who has been in this seat before.
And it certainly speaks to the confidence level that Stephen and Jerry have with the roster they've built. And you know what? If they have confidence in that group, Tim, then a head coach should be the missing piece.
And I think they should feel confident about it. When you look at the talent on their roster, really at every level, you know, offense and defense, they have good players there. Now, they're going to have to get some of them under contract, and they're going to, you know, probably going to have to, you know, make some adjustments, but everyone does. I would say this, he's a football guy. I mean, really, at the end of the day, Mike McCarthy is he's just a football guy. So I think the element of Jerry Jones talking and being so visible to the media, I actually don't think that it's going to bother Mike McCarthy much. I think Mike McCarthy would rather be in a dark room watching film than in, you know, the middle of a press conference. I think he would. He obviously wanted to get back into coaching. I think it's a great opportunity for him. He's been very good with quarterbacks, and people will say, oh, well, you know, he won one Super Bowl with Favre and Rodgers. I don't think any of us would say that Sean Payton isn't a great coach. Sean Payton's a great coach. You know how many Super Bowls he's won with Drew Brees? One.
Don Shula did not win a Super Bowl with Dan Marino.
So I think, you know, sometimes winning the Super Bowl, there's other factors other than just, you know, having a good quarterback and how that guy plays. So, look, I think this ends up being a pretty good fit. I think there is a legitimacy with Mike. He has won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, in fact, that was in Jerry's stadium there.
Yeah, at AT&T Stadium. That's right. In fact, he's 4-0 at AT&T Stadium. Not that that matters, but hey, it's a better, you know, better
I
than
was
not.
part of one of those losses
you were,
at AT&T. Mort likes to bring that up too. This is like
Maybe
the
that's
second
why
time
he did it.
he's done it.
You know, it's Monday, guys.
In the fear and discipline aspect of it, it won't be a country club with Mike McCarthy. Now, I think Mike McCarthy learned some lessons. You can ask Charles Woodson about kind of when he first took over in Green Bay and that relationship. And I think Mike learned, you know, much like Tom Coughlin learned in New York. And so I think there's elements of that'll help his football team.
Well, the head coaching carousel, meanwhile, continues. 2 down, 3 to go in the NFC East. Mike McCarthy, as you know, headed to the Cowboys, and Ron Rivera to the Redskins. So really some veteran coaching leadership with both of those teams. Another NFC East team, the Giants, are still in need of a new head coach. They will likely